Last weekend, my wife Jackie and I attended Artisphere, a huge annual arts festival in downtown Greenville, South Carolina. It's really an impressive festival. There are many artists from all over the country showing their works. There's oil painting, mixed media, sculpture, ceramics, woodwork, you name it. Well, this year was special as my wife Jackie and I made a pretty substantial investment in an original piece of art. We saw the painting and fell in love with it and knew exactly where it would go in our house. The painting is called A Life-Sized Boy, and it's about 6 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide. The painting is of a boy on his bicycle flying over a ramp that he's set up in the street to practice jumping the bicycle. And you can tell from the setting that it's clearly in the 70s, maybe the 80s, but to me it looks like the 70s. Because one of the things that I like about the painting is that it reminds me of growing up in the 70s, where I would spend endless hours either with my friends or by myself, riding my bicycle, not only in my neighborhood, but exploring well beyond. We didn't have cell phones distracting us or constant monitoring by our parents. We just knew that when it got dark outside, we needed to get home. Well, obviously a lot's changed over the last 50 years. The internet, cell phones, and social media have become some of the most powerful forces shaping modern life. And there are incredible benefits to all this technology. But their addictive effects and the way they've replaced the adventurous, freedom-seeking, outdoors-oriented childhood of the past is disturbing to me. And I know I'm extremely grateful that I grew up without all this technology. Of course, I'm grateful that it's available to us now. And in my work as a divorce financial planner, I'm exposed to many clients and colleagues using these new technologies. So I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk a little bit about the impact of social media, particularly on divorce, particularly for people in mid to late life, and discuss some of the things we can do to protect ourselves against some of its more harmful effects. One of the most significant dangers of social media is its impact on our mental health. In particular, the danger it poses to our sense of ourselves and our relationships with others. Many years ago, I read an article, I think it was called Facebook Makes Us Sad. And this came out not long after the introduction of Facebook. And what it referred to was those users of Facebook and now many other different types of social media like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, people who constantly compare themselves to the carefully edited lives they see online. Let's face it, people tend to post their happiest moments and their best photographs, their achievements, their vacations, and their successes, while hiding struggles, failures, and insecurities. And this creates an unrealistic version of reality that can make us feel inadequate. We may begin to believe that everyone else is happier, more attractive, wealthier, or more successful than we are. And over time, this constant comparison can contribute to low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and feelings of loneliness. Social media can also increase stress and emotional exhaustion. News spreads rapidly online, exposing us to a nonstop stream of politics, disasters, outrage, and negativity. Constant exposure to upsetting content can leave us emotionally drained and anxious. And of course, online arguments and hostile comment sections encourage anger and division rather than healthy communication. And people can find themselves trapped in cycles of outrage, endlessly scrolling through stressful or upsetting information without realizing the emotional toll it takes. In addition to harming mental health, social media can negatively affect our physical well-being. Excessive social media use can contribute to a couch potato lifestyle, increasing the risk of obesity, poor cardiovascular health, and chronic pain. Another major issue is sleep disruption. Many people spend hours scrolling through their screens late at night, sacrificing sleep without realizing it. The light emitted from screens can interfere with body's natural sleep cycle, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing sleep quality. Poor sleep's linked to numerous health problems, including fatigue, weakened immune function, irritability, and increased risk of heart disease. If you've listened to other episodes of this podcast, you've probably heard me talk about a virtuous cycle that begins with a good night's sleep. Get a good night's sleep, wake up energized, get some exercise, start to get in shape, watch your diet, feel better, get to bed at a decent hour, rinse, lather, repeat. These are virtuous habits building on themselves. Perhaps my major concern with social media is the effect it can have on our real-life relationships. Although social media is designed to connect people, it can sometimes reduce meaningful face-to-face interaction. Families and friends may spend time together physically while remaining emotionally distracted by their devices. How many times have you been eating at a restaurant with your significant other or a friend and looked around the restaurant to see a couple sitting across from each other, their faces buried in their phones? I'm astonished sometimes that some couples spend more time at a restaurant dinner looking at their phones than each other. My wife and I make it a point to put away our phones at dinner or if we go out. We both love to travel, and one of the things I most love about our vacations is that it takes us away from our phone screens. Now, divorce has always been emotionally difficult, but social media has changed the experience in ways few people anticipated. Platforms like Facebook and Instagram have blurred the line between private and public. And for many divorcing couples, especially older adults who didn't grow up online, social media can intensify conflict, damage reputations, complicate legal proceedings, and deepen emotional wounds. While younger generations are often more aware of the risk of oversharing online, older divorcing couples may underestimate how much social media activity can affect both the emotional and practical aspects of divorce. A casual post, photo, or comment can quickly become evidence in court, and it can create misunderstandings among family or friends, or permanently damage relationships with adult children and grandchildren. One of the biggest problems social media creates during divorce is emotional escalation. Divorce can already involve grief, anger, disappointment, and fear, and you've probably heard me talk many times about the concept of divorce brain. This can range from foggy thinking to very irrational behavior that can be destructive both emotionally and financially as we face one of life's major financial transactions in divorce. Social media encourages impulsive behavior during emotional moments. A spouse may post a bitter quote or complain publicly about betrayal or share personal details to gain sympathy. Even indirect posts, vague type of messages meant to send a signal, can increase hostility. And often friends and relatives join the conversation, adding opinions and taking sides, which can make reconciliation or peaceful negotiation far more difficult. For older couples, this dynamic can be especially painful because their social networks are often deeply intertwined. They may share decades of mutual friends, church communities, professional contacts, and extended family connections. Public online conflict can force others to choose sides and fracture relationships that took years to build. And adult children may feel trapped between parents, especially when they encounter accusatory posts online, or see relatives arguing publicly in comment sections. Another major concern is the legal impact of social media. Many people forget that online activity leaves a permanent record. Divorce attorneys frequently use screenshots, photos, messages, and location data as evidence during proceedings. A spouse claiming financial hardship may undermine their position by posting pictures of vacations, expensive dinners, or major purchases. And a parent involved in a custody dispute may face scrutiny over posts involving alcohol use or partying. Older adults may be particularly vulnerable because they often assume privacy settings provide more protection than they do. They may not realize that even private posts can be shared, copied, or subpoenaed. Something intended only for close friends can quickly circulate beyond its original audience. As I mentioned earlier, social media can also magnify loneliness and comparison during divorce. Seeing an ex-spouse appear happy online, whether it's accurate or carefully staged, can trigger resentment, insecurity, or depression. Older individuals going through divorce may already struggle with fears about aging, starting over, financial uncertainty, or being alone after a long marriage. Constant exposure to these curated online images of happiness can intensify those anxieties. In some cases, social media becomes a tool for surveillance and control. One spouse may be obsessively monitoring the other's activities, tracking who they follow, where they check in, or who comments on their posts. This can prevent emotional healing and keep both individuals psychologically stuck in the conflict. For couples leaving controlling or emotionally abusive relationships, online harassment and monitoring can become serious safety concerns. Dating after divorce presents another challenge. Older adults re-entering the dating world may feel pressure to announce new relationships online, but doing so quickly can create unnecessary tension. Adult children may react emotionally to seeing a parent with a new partner, particularly if the divorce is recent. And public displays of a new relationship can also disrupt negotiations over finances or property by creating resentment or suspicion. Because of these risks, thoughtful social media behavior is extremely important during divorce. The healthiest approach is often restraint. Experts frequently recommend avoiding discussions of your divorce online altogether. Emotional support is better sought through trusted friends, therapists, divorce coaches, or private conversations rather than public posts. There are several practical strategies divorcing couples can follow to protect themselves and reduce conflict online. For instance, avoid posting negative comments about your spouse, even indirectly, I should say. Do not share details about legal proceedings, finances, or custody matters. Refrain from posting while angry or emotionally overwhelmed. Review privacy settings carefully, but remember nothing online is truly private. Ask friends and family not to tag you in photos or discussions related to your divorce. Limit checking an ex-spouse's social media accounts, especially during emotionally difficult periods. Think carefully before introducing new romantic partners online. Consider taking a temporary break from social media if interactions become emotionally damaging. Most importantly, divorcing couples should remember that social media rewards reaction, speed, and attention. Healthy divorce resolution requires patience, privacy, and emotional control. A divorce may eventually end legally, but online posts can remain searchable and emotionally damaging for years afterward. For older couples, divorce often represents the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Social media can either complicate that transition or be managed in a way that protects dignity, relationships, and emotional well-being. In many cases, the wisest choice is not to win the online battle, but to preserve peace, privacy, and self-respect during one of life's most challenging transitions. Until next time, take care, everybody.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Grey Divorce Podcast. To learn more or get in contact with your host, you can visit Andrew's website at transcendretirement.net. Also, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Information provided is educational only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Each situation is unique and should be discussed with your tax or legal advisor prior to implementation. Andrew Hatherley is not an attorney and does not provide legal advice. Information provided is financial in nature. Advisory services offered through Hatherley Capital Management, LLC. Divorce financial analysis services offered through Wiser Divorce Solutions, an affiliated company.